Good evening, everyone. Family and friends, want you to come on in. We're so glad that you're able to be a part of this platform with us together tonight. We're excited about what we're getting ready to hear from my good friend and brother, Mike Veny. Welcome. Welcome. We want you to make sure you like and share this platform right on everyone that is gathered here. I'm going to give you a couple of more seconds to get on in. And we want you to like this live stream, but also share it on your page. All our Facebook Live viewers, all our YouTube viewers right now, if you can like it and share it. We want everyone to have the opportunity to get on and to hear what's going to be said through Mike this evening. So welcome again to this online community platform where we are focusing on the theme, finding peace in the chaos. And of course, without a doubt, it's just been a crazy couple of weeks in our world and country. This global pandemic has just made an impact in our lives. And unfortunately, thousands of people have died and thousands are infected with this virus. But not just that, is how we felt like this was so appropriate and fitting just to share together on this platform. But we feel like this overall, because if you're living, you're breathing, we all go through problems, we all face circumstances, seen and unseen. And so, and it's in times like these that we thank God for the church, and we thank God for the power of prayer and what God is able to do. But we also thank God for different offices and professionals that are able to equip us and educate us in these areas, so that when we are fighting some internal issues and internal battles, that we have these tremendous individuals that can help us to give us the necessary tools and information that we need to come out victorious. So I think it'll be just appropriate just to just give an introduction to my good friend. Again, those that are coming on, I want you to like and share it. I want everyone to be engaged in this online community. And we want everyone to participate by commenting as well, so that we can see all your comments. And if there's any questions, we'll make sure that we'll have some time at the tail end of this presentation to take some questions. But without further ado, I am so honored, so blessed and thrilled and excited to introduce to the whole world our future guest speaker, Mike Veny. He manages to overcome a lifetime of mental health challenges to become a professional drummer and one of America's leading mental health speakers. He's the author of the best-selling book, Transforming Stigma: How to Become a Mental Wellness Superhero. His advocacy work has been featured on ABC and NBC and CBS. And as the 2017 PM 360 Elite Award winner, our next guest was recognized as one of the 100 most influential people in the healthcare industry. He is also a writer of Corporate Wellness Magazine, Health Central, and delivered a TEDx talk titled Mental Illness in an Asset. He's worked with a variety of companies, including T-Mobile, United Auto Workers, Heineken, General Motors, and the Wounded Warrior Project. And in his spare time, he enjoys weight training, doing transcendental meditation for 20 minutes 2 times a day, and eating a good bone-in ribeye steak. That's my man right there, because that's my favorite cut, a bone-in ribeye. Cooked medium rare. Don't forget that. It's got to be medium rare. He lives in New York City and is addicted to buying luggage while watching YouTube videos on how to pack a suitcase. So his checklist for business tips is one of the most prized possessions, and we are so glad and honored to have him on this platform. And he's going to share a story and to share some tools that's going to help all of us to get through some trying times. If anyone that's there that's battling anxiety or loneliness or stress, or the list goes on, we are so honored to introduce Mike Veny at this time. Mike, God bless you, man. We love you. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise to the world. So we're going to give you the opportunity to share what's on your heart. We're honored to have you this evening.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. And hello to your viewers out there. My name is Mike Veny, and I don't know, I can just begin at the top and just tell you a little bit about myself. We're going to be talking today about some of the challenges that people are struggling with mentally during this time. And, you know, Omar, you and I had talked about really covering stress, anxiety, loneliness. And I actually wanted to add one that's been on my mind today is grief. There's a lot of people going through a lot of grief right now. So I want to talk about that. I have been living with mental health challenges or mental illness, as they say, for most of my life. It's kind of all that I know. And it started when I was a kid. And usually with kids, it comes out in behavior problems. And my parents ended up putting me in a private school because Catholic school, because they thought the nuns would straighten me out. And you know, we've all had that experience in school where you have that one teacher that nobody wants to get. Well, her name was Sister Pat, and she was known as a mean, evil nun in the Catholic school. And I knew from right away, from day one, she and I were not going to get along together. I knew it was just not going to work. And you know, it started when she yelled at me for something I did, and I said something back, and she tried to come over to my desk and pull me out of my desk, and I tried to actually punch my teacher as hard as I could. And she then took holy water and threw it on me and called me the devil. And I threw it back at her. I said, "Put this on your wrinkles." And I was expelled from that school. The next school, they put me in a school where my uncle was the principal. And long story short, 3 weeks, several fights, and the desk mysteriously flying out of my hands in the direction of my teacher, I was expelled from that school. And the rest of fourth grade was pretty cool, though, because I got home tutoring 1 hour a day. Love that school year. Great school year. And that summer, you know, I went to see the movie Batman. And for those of you that are Batman fans, I want to be clear what movie I'm talking about. It's not Ben Affleck or George Clooney. It's Michael Keaton starring as Batman, and Jack Nicholson was the Joker. And I don't know if it was the movie or something else, but I came home and I ended up in a rage. And I want to explain what a rage is. We all get angry. Anger is a normal emotion, but a rage is when you are out of control. Yeah. And I was out of control for several hours. My parents tried to restrain me. I was just punching things, destroying things. Next thing I know, I'm put in a mental hospital for 3 weeks. And I just want to say it's a very scary place to be, especially when you're a kid. I quickly learned the secret to getting out of the mental hospital is that you have to have a good story and convince them you have coping skills, and they let you out. And that's what I did. And that was the start of my career as a speaker. But no, they let me out, and I was then put in special education. And I started to experience depression at age 10. And depression is very painful. My depression is so bad that I feel it physically. And I decided one day to fix the problem. So I came home from school at 10 years old, went into the medicine cabinet and took all the pills to my medication and tried to end my life. And fortunately, my mom found me and they pumped my stomach and saved my life. And I'm very grateful that my mom did that. But I was actually angry at the time because she was trying to get in my way of taking away my pain. And between 7th grade and 10th grade, I was on a first name basis with the local police in the local emergency room, knew their favorite sports teams and their kids' names because I was constantly in crisis. And by the time I had finished 10th grade, I'd been expelled from 3 schools, hospitalized in a mental hospital 3 times, lots of self-harm, violent at home, and suicide attempts. So I was in many ways a poster child for an at-risk youth. And the thing that really turned my life around was drumming, because drumming just gave me a sense of purpose. And so my parents actually found a performing arts high school for me where I could play drums on Long Island called the Long Island High School for the Arts, still there. And that school really saved me big time. It saved me, and I could let out my emotions on the drums. And then at the end of high school, you know, you have the conversation about work and what you want to do with your life. And my brother wanted to be a lawyer, and I had to tell my parents that I wanted to be a drummer, and their heads just kind of went down, but they supported it. And I still, you know, to this day, battle mental health challenges, and I'm still a drummer. I do corporate drumming, but the big thing that I've learned to do is mental health speaking. I actually speak about mental health because there's a stigma surrounding it. And for many years, I would have this shame of carrying around my challenges. Like if you and I became friends, what if you started to notice that I was a little bit off? I'd have to worry about that. Or I'd start working with a new band and I'd think that that band leader might see that I have really severe anxiety and I might get fired. So it was really affecting me. I just wanted the challenges to go away, but I've learned they're not going away. It's part of who I am. And
Yeah.
so here today, I share it with the world. I will talk everything about my mental illness. You put it on the table. And so when this coronavirus pandemic came around, I was in a very scary spot because I had to think to myself, I knew there were going to be mental health challenges that came with this for myself and the rest of the world. And at the same time, I already had my own challenges to work with, and I was feeling a lot of uncertainty. And as I started to reflect more, the one thing I became certain of was that despite what would happen during this pandemic, I did have the tools to get through it mentally and emotionally. And that was really important for me to realize. And that's what I want to share with all of you today, some of those tools that I've learned that have helped me thrive during difficult times. And I just want to be honest and say that, like all of us, I'm not sitting here just like chilling and having peace as we go through this. I'm
Yeah.
feeling all sorts of emotions each day. And so that's basically my story. And I'm here to help the world be emotionally well.
Wow, that man, that's a tremendous story, and you did it in a good amount of time as well. So, we're on this platform, and I'm sure that there are many viewers that are watching and listening, and obviously, everything that you've been through is not by accident, and it's brought you to where you are right now. That you're able to use your gift and your passion and turn around and just to share it to the world. So. Um, Share with us and not just what we're going through in our world and in our country, but just this everyday life. Just how were you able to cope, to overcome some things? I mean, you talked about drumming, so and I think that was pretty cool that you mentioned that, because it shows that you had some outlets that produced well-being at the end of the day. So, and I think for some of us, when we go through, when we're battling anger or stress or anxiety, it's not really what we're battling, but it's also or really this our outlet. So can you share that a little bit in terms of just some having some healthy outlets? What so
Yeah.
when we're going through these things, that outlets are important in what we do.
Right. And thank you. And I just want to say this for the record. I still struggle with these challenges. And a few years ago, I had a major breakdown and I could have one at any point. But I do have certain systems that I've tried to put in place to care for myself. And brings up a subject called self-care. And when we talk about self-care, a lot of people think when you talk about self-care, you're talking about going to the spa, having some cucumbers on your eyes and just like relaxing. Self-care is when you intentionally do things to nurture yourself and to grow yourself. And for the record, I want to explain that there's a difference between self-care activities and escape activities. They're two different things. So for instance, an escape activity is binge watching Netflix. That's fine if you feel like doing that, but that's not self-care. When you exercise, when you meditate, pray, write in your journal, that's self-care. And it's really important to be intentional about doing self-care activities each and every day. We all need it. And there's a lot of people out there. I want to bring up something. This might be an uncomfortable subject, but I want to be very straight with you. I'm a very direct person here.
Sure.
A lot of times people tell me, even during this pandemic, they're busy and they don't have time for self-care. They don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And then we also have people that are watching. And again, I'm going to say this with love. I'm looking at you. I love you. That say to me, they put everyone else first. So they don't have time for themselves. Well, I'm going to stop that right now. If you're going around telling people that, you're not an angel, you're selfish. You need to start putting you first and stop using that as an excuse. Because if you're not modeling it for other people, you can't expect it out of other people.
Truth.
So really, really important thing. So I'm a big believer in being that role model as best you can.
That's good. Somebody need to hear that. I mean, we need to remind us. We oftentimes, I mean, that's just real talk. We oftentimes really put others in front of us. And I like to say this. I say it all the time, that nobody loves you more than you. So when you're burnt out and when you're just at the place where you're just empty, you got nothing else to give and offer, then, the world is going to keep on going, and, when I, ask my wife sometimes, or, speak to my friends, and I ask them, how's life and how's work going? And, making sure that, you work the job and the job doesn't work you. Because if the job is there to work you, then it's going to take you out and it's going to find somebody else to fill that position. So that is just big right there when you talk about, focusing on you and making sure that, you're taking care of your well-being. And so that's solid right there. Let's talk about the three. And, that this is why we're going to talk about anxiety and stress and loneliness. I mean, this is your field. Share with
Yeah.
us. So somebody that's watching, that's listening, that needs the information, needs to be educated. I mean, they're good people online, people that could be in a church living for the Lord, Christians, and
Yeah.
they lack. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, the Bible says. And so they lack that knowledge, they lack that education. And so we want to use this platform to be intentional in helping somebody, because they need to hear it. And I'm loving the comments that's going on right now. And just want to put in a shameless plug. I need the whole world to connect to Mike Veny when we get done. He's on social media. His name is simple, Mike Veny, Veni. Connect with your man. He's on the gram. He's on Facebook. He's on Twitter. And so you need to visit his website. So talk about your website. Talk about some of the things that you've done before, as far as your resume, places you've gone to speak, organizations, companies, seminars, and then let's dive into those three big hitters right now to see if we can help somebody that's watching.
Yeah, I'll just say this really quickly. In the fall, I got to speak to Aetna, CBS, the entire company, T-Mobile in the past year, the entire company, and they hired me to come in to speak, to open up big corporate events. And I still do drumming sometimes with these companies too, where I bring in my drums and we learn about working together in the sandbox, which is another important part about mental health. But I want to go right into this whole chaos thing. And there seems to be three animals we have. We've got stress, anxiety, and loneliness. And I actually believe that the first thing you need to tackle during this time is your stress level. Because if you can't manage your stress level, you're not going to be able to fix anything else.
True.
And one of the simplest ways to do that, I want to give you all this tip. It's possibly the simplest tool you'll ever get in the world. It's called a brain dump. And what you do is you take out a piece of paper and a pen and you write down everything that's on your mind. Everything. It could mean the stuff that you need to put on your food list, the person you're angry at, the thing that's been bothering you for 20 years, whatever it is, put it on your mind. Because for some reason, once you get it out of your head and onto paper, it doesn't take away your stress. I just want to be clear on that, but it makes it more manageable. And it allows you to put it in perspective and look at it from above. So in our home, we have yellow legal pads everywhere. We have lots of those. So you can just, at any point, write down stuff that's on your mind. And once you do that, the list might be overwhelming, by the way. You might have multiple pages of paper. I often do. Yeah. And sometimes, even in this pandemic, I wake up stressed out, not knowing what's going to happen. I have to start my day with this brain dump. But once you do, it's important to take that list that you create, look at that list and figure out that one thing on the list that's the most important thing, and ask yourself, what can I do about this that's in my control?
Right.
Very important there. It's in my control. And when you do that, you take a step towards taking the power back, because part of the problem with this whole pandemic is we've lost control. We feel like we are just not in control. I mean, we never really were in control, but that's a whole nother thing. But regardless, in this, we're not. So I think it's really important to do this kind of brain dump activity to get stuff that's on your mind off your mind.
Wow. So you do this every day. Like, I mean, for me in my office at my house, I have an inspirational board, which is just like loaded with just pictures and articles and different, sayings that motivates me, that encourages me. And, although, that kind of sounds, and what you were mentioning kind of sounds so much like elementary or kind of cheesy and all that, it really helps, in the time of just like when you're needing, an outlet, when you just need to be reminded, when you can read an article that you got from the newspaper or you got from online, and you know, or something that just like that was just a stamp, you know, in the past that just holds that reminder, and that fuels you, you know, mentally and emotionally. And so, share a little bit more on just the power of writing.
The power of writing
And
is,
watch this, and especially in an age where we're just, you know, we've got so much technology. You know, there's an app for that. You know, so they see it's a big term. So, but what's the power of writing? How does that release whatever that's in your mind to be on paper or an iPad or a phone? What's the process like that kind of feels, you know, you at the end?
yeah, I don't know what it is. I know there's some scientific thing, and I'd have to look it up to find the science. There is science behind it, but I do know that it feels totally different. If you're taking notes even right now on your phone, it feels a lot different just to take a pen or pencil and write it on a piece of paper. I have gotten so hardcore with this that I
Yeah,
only use moleskin journals and Pilot G2 gel bold pens. That's all that I have, because that's what feels good when I write. So I travel with those all the time. That's what I use. And so we even kicked all the pens out of a certain area and said, just my Pilot G2 gel pens in a certain cup, no, nothing else. So I think it's really important to get in the habit of writing. But you brought up something else, Omar, about news. And I want to bring this up right now because
sure.
a lot of people are feeling incredible anxiety around the news. And I am too. You know, sometimes I'm guilty of picking up my phone at night and just checking the news. But I want to give you just a quick story about castles here. I want to talk about castles. So
Okay.
when I think about castles, I think about being a kid. And I used to watch different shows, and they had the castle, which was this big giant brick building. And typically the castle had a moat around the perimeter, which is a body of water that you really couldn't get over. And the way to get into the castle, they would have to let the drawbridge down for you. So if I went to the castle to try to go visit, I'd have to yell, "Hey!" Some guard at the top would say, "Who goes there?" I'd say, "It's Mike Veny," and hopefully they'd let me in and think I'm a friend. Okay. When it comes to the news and social media, we have the power to let the drawbridge down or up for different things.
That's
The
good.
news is not the problem. The problem is picking up your phone. It's a habit that we have that has nothing to do with the news. And I want to tell you a secret about the news. My publicist, Amira, is watching this. I love you, Amira. Thank you for all your help. And she's taught me so much about the news. And the news, the whole function of the news is to get our attention. That's it. Get our attention. Everything is a breaking story, you know? And so that being said, in New York City, when I would go on the subways, we call it the iPhone prayer, because you just get on the subway and everyone's like looking at their phones. That's a cultural habit, has nothing to do with news. So it's on you to decide how much you pick up your phone. We do it so subconsciously, we don't even think about it. So here's a quick tip for you. Start giving yourself time limits, and maybe say to yourself, an hour before bed, you're going to shut off the phone. When I do that, I have a much better sleep. My friend Brendan has this cool thing set up where he doesn't use the phone till 12 noon. He'll wake up and does not turn it on because he wants to get his piece going for the day. So that's bringing back the control. Also, social media. People look at social media and get angry now.
That's the
No one
truth.
is forcing you to look at it. You can
Yeah.
turn it off. You don't have to follow me on social media if you don't like me. So it's really important to remember that we have control over these things. We're telling ourselves these stories that like social media is the problem and the news. No, it's us. It's us.
It's the truth. It's definitely true. I just, you know, I feel like, you know, and I'm just going to be honest, since you're honest as well, too, that I think it was about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, obviously, you know, thank God that, you know, any little news right now is good news in our world, especially what's going on in New York, being the epicenter of this whole pandemic. And you know, it seems like that, you know, we've kind of, you know, we've gotten to the apex, and it seems like there's a flattening of the curve, and, you know, less stress from the hospital systems, things of that nature. We're far away from where we want to be. We got a long way to go, but the little reports that we can get, that's good news. Thank God, you know. And so it seems like that we are kind of headed towards the right direction. But I'm gonna say this, Mike. I mean, 2 weeks ago, bro. I mean, I struggled. The preacher man, the pastor man, was battling like mentally, just like every time I was watching the news, and you know, this a notification on my phone. I was quick to get, I mean, everything that you said, you're talking to me right now. You're convicting me because the breaking news and just the updates, although it's important, I feel like we need to be educated. We need to know what's going on in our city, in our communities. But there was a time, bro, that I just felt like, 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I need to, like, I'm chilling with the TV, chilling with, watching the news and just my phone. I'm gonna go in the backyard and hang out with my boys, spend some time with my wife, just do things that just, focuses on the family. Because if you allow yourself to get so caught up with that, just constantly, it's just feeding you nonstop breaking news, nonstop this, nonstop that. It's just, it saps the joy of that moment and the happiness. And time is a respect of nobody. We cannot get back the time that
Right.
we in this pandemic, that we can use that quality time to focus on our families, what really matters the most. So in the
Absolutely.
midst of being educated, in the midst of being prepared, and yeah, we want to take all the precautionary measures to safeguard ourselves, to ensure our well-beings. But at the end of the day, like you said, get off the phone. Like sometimes the first thing that I'm gonna say, first thing I do sometimes is I go to my phone, and I want to make sure that I'm reaching for my Bible consistently first, talking to the Lord, praying, start my day right, and spending some time with my kids before I see what's going on Fox or whatever else I'm watching. And it's important because it can really get to your mind, and it can really mess up your day. And the people around you. This is the most powerful thing for me. The people that are closest to you, that you love, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve that potential anger or that frustration, that you wake up on the wrong side of the bed because you ended up taking up your phone and you wanted to open up an app just to see what's the latest news in New York, what's going on in our world. And all of a sudden that gets in your mind and messes up your spirit, and that can affect the whole day, when you can use that whole day to be the best with your family. So having that guard up is important. Having that filter is also important. And this is good stuff. And I want all our viewers to comment, because I'm on my phone right now. I'm looking at everyone joining in and watching, but I need the family that's online. I need to see those thumbs up. I need to see the hearts. Come on, I need you to kill it right now. Come on, like and share, like and share. Let everyone know what this platform is all about, because we got a few more minutes this together for this evening. So I need to see some emojis. Come on, y'all. I need to see some hearts. I need to see some thumbs if you are excited and if you're loving what you are hearing right now. And also, if there are any questions, please, I want you to comment, because I'm going to scroll through and pick out a couple of questions if we have some time at the end, so that Mike has just been a blessing in sharing with us. So we talked about stress, which was some good practical stuff that you've given our viewers. Let's talk about anxiety.
Let's
It's
talk about anxiety.
a big A. Talk about it.
Okay, let's continue right from this phone conversation. One of the reasons I believe that we keep notifications on our phone, and by the way, that's another rule that I've learned. Most of us don't need notifications. That takes you away from being present with whatever you're doing.
Ain't that
Now,
the truth?
yeah, there's some times where it's necessary. Like tonight, you and I had to do this, Facebook Live. So we're, making sure, so I have some notifications on. But in general, we don't need it. A lot of people, you're sitting with them and they hear the phone ring all the time. That can give you anxiety. But here's what I've learned, and this is going to get really honest. One of the reasons I believe that we pick up our phones is not really about wanting to know the news. It's because we don't want to sit with our uncomfortable feelings.
Wow. Wow. Say
And
that again.
it's
Say,
because we
that's
don't
good.
want to sit with our uncomfortable feelings.
Wow.
It's what it is. And I've had to learn the hard way. I have a wonderful therapist who's been so helpful to me. And she had to say to me a few years ago, when I was really struggling, I was mad at her because she wouldn't give me any solutions. I wanted a solution. She's my therapist. I'm paying her all this money. And she looked at me and said, "You need to sit with your feelings." That was the scariest thing to me. We as a society like to run away from difficult emotions, or we like to medicate them away, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And it's really important that we learn to sit with them, because when you do, so take this anxiety, you're feeling anxiety. A lot of people want the anxiety to go away. What do I do to make it go away? I don't believe you need to make it go away. Anxiety isn't a bad thing. It's just uncomfortable.
Right.
It's important to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and embrace that.
How do you do that?
It takes practice. I would love to tell you that there's a one way to do it. The way
Because
I started,
we got some people that are part of the body of Christ in the church, and they have faith and they pray and they trust in God, they believe in God, they sing, they worship, do all of that, get into God's presence, but yet they get home and they battle with. And I think the greatest fear, hear me somebody, I think the greatest fear for all of us, if not all, most of us, is the fear of the unknown. It just, when we just don't know what's going to happen next. You know,
yeah,
the God that we say that we serve, that we sing, he holds my life in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He knows my tomorrow. Sometimes we just have this human tendency to be anxious and be fearful because we just don't know about tomorrow. So how do we get comfortable in a state of being uncomfortable? What we could talk about outlets again. What do we do?
yeah.
Because
I think
tools is what we're needing.
I think it's really important, again, to embrace difficult emotions. We take difficult emotions as something negative. They're not. They're just uncomfortable. They're
Right.
not evil. They're not bad. They're just uncomfortable. And if we can learn to see that, part of being human is feeling fear and sitting with that fear. Sit, because here's the gold. When you sit with that fear, which basically anxiety is, it becomes vision and courage when you allow yourself to process it and sit with it. If you just run away from it, it's going to come back on some other level. So it's really important to sit with it. The other thing, and I want to give this as a special shout out to my friend Carmela, who might be watching this from California. We were talking a few weeks ago, and we were talking about, when's this thing going to be over? Everyone wants to know, when's it going to be over?
Yeah.
She said, oh my gosh, she said the most powerful thing. She said, Mike, I don't care when it's going to be over, and I don't want to know. And I said, why don't you want to know? I don't need to know. And I just thought that was so beautiful, because she's in the moment. She's in the moment. She's enjoying each and every moment. And she's been a huge inspiration to me on so many levels. And so if you're watching, Carmela, thank you. But that's an important thing to remember. We don't need to necessarily know when this is going to get better. We just need to be present in the moment. A lot of the fear that people are experiencing, and I'm going to be honest, is about control. We don't have control over this. And are we supposed to have control over this? I don't think so, or life for that matter. So learning to embrace giving up control and being okay with that.
And I think, we can connect that to the scriptures that, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I think those three kind of wraps itself up with the word control, which is a big word. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. we don't have control of it. We worry, we're fearful, we're anxious. So we got to see it. It's got to be in our possession. We got to know, we got to manage it. We got to supervise it. We got to, and if we don't have, that in our control, then, we'll lose it. So, good stuff. Is there anything else that you can share? Because I wanted to pull a little bit more, especially on the anxious part, because a lot of people, they're, and we can be anxious for many reasons, financially, health, relationship, internal, mentally, socially. So trying to be comfortable in a state of being uncomfortable. And you mentioned that. And I think one of the things that was really big, what you said, is that embrace today and don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah. You can't, you have no control over it.
Yeah. So what are some other things that you can, from a practical standpoint, that you can share as far as tools that can help someone with just, I've got faith, I'm a good person, I believe, I've got a strong support, maybe family, friends, but yet still I struggle with, anxiety. What are some healthy outlets? What are some practical advice that you can share to someone on not just learning how to be comfortable, but I want to take it a little step further and just kind of get on pastor mode. How can I be victorious? Or me being comfortable is my bridge that leads me to victory. I don't know. So you tell me, because I believe that, we should live an overcoming life, that that God has given us that power, that these things should not defeat us, or even something that we should live with, that we're supposed to be overcomers. We're supposed to, this is why he came and died, so that we can have life and have it more abundantly. So what are some things that you can share for not only just being comfortable, but also positioning myself to have the victory over this?
Well, one thing that you can do, and I want to say this to you, Omar, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to give you all the things we've talked about here. I'm going to give you these in an email for resources that you can share with everyone. So everyone who's watching this, we're going to give you lots of resources here so you can check out all these different things. One thing is going to therapy. And I've been excited to bring this one up because a lot of people think, well, I don't need to go to therapy. Nothing's wrong with me. Therapy is not about something being wrong with you. All therapy is having the opportunity to talk to someone who is not a friend, family member, or in your religious organization, and be able to get things that are deeply on your mind, like fear, off your mind and process it with you. That's all it really is. And I'm going to say this, therapy has contributed to my success more than anything in this world. It really has, because it's given me that opportunity. Now, I want to tell all of you this: in the pandemic, where do you find therapy? There's actually lots of free tools, and I'm going to send you some free resources that you can find. There's also online therapy that you can take on your phone. You can take on the computer. So it's really important to know those resources are out there. And just remember this: when you go to a therapist, it's not about help me, therapist. It's a two-way relationship that you have to bring to the table. And also, for people of faith, there are faith-based therapists out there too that can really help you, focus from that journey. The other thing that I want to bring up just really quickly about anxiety is that one of the latest trends in mental health is seeing emotions from the physical perspective of the body. And there's a great book out there called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. It's considered to be the trauma-informed care Bible. And basically, it talks about we store emotions in our body. And so when you address it from the perspective of the body first, you have a chance to release it there and get clearer in your mind on what's going on. There's a great way you can do that. One of the ways I do it is a style of yoga called yin yoga. I just want to say, for the record, I'm not a yoga person. I don't have my little yoga outfit, but no, yin yoga, I call it the lazy person's yoga, because you get to sit there and hold positions. That's all you do. Sit on the floor, hold positions. And what you'll notice if you're ever in a yin yoga class, people start randomly crying and shaking because they're releasing emotions stored in the body. So it's really important to do that, do things, start to notice. And I want to say this: when you feel anxiety, figure out where it is in your body. Learn to actually point to it. Say, it's in my chest. And just that awareness alone will help you start to be victorious with it.
Wow. And it's a powerful thing to know that, all these internal emotional issues can affect us physically as well. You talked about chest pains and headaches and all that. Have you ever experienced, stuff like that? Or if not, or maybe you can kind of shed some light on that and maybe help someone that, sometimes we go to the doctor and the doctor can't find out what's going on with us, can't give us a proper diagnosis. And so, we default to taking these medications to cope, but really not bringing us to a place of betterment. Share a little bit of information about just
Absolutely.
on how that kind of affects us physically and the danger of that.
Yeah, I just want to say, for the record, I'm not a medical doctor, so please don't take it as medical advice. But there's a lot, again, coming out more and more, that sometimes the physical pains that we feel are actually about emotional stuff that we haven't released. I know that the past year I was struggling in the gym, working out. I was doing leg work in the gym. Love leg day. No, I don't love leg day. That's the one thing I don't miss right now, is leg day. And I would be on the leg press machine, and I remember my left knee was just feeling weak. And I would say to my wife, I don't know what's going on. I had to wear a little brace. And I spoke to one of my therapists about it, and he reminded me that the knees are about standing your ground and standing in your power. And he said, Mike, you're not feeling in your power. You need to
Wow.
take that power back. And you know what? Went to the gym right after that and did some leg work, and the pain was pretty much gone. It doesn't, and again, I don't want to say that, medical issues happen, that it doesn't matter what your emotional state is, but it can really help heal, in addition to, things that doctors recommend, if you look at the emotional side of things.
Wow, that's good. Guess I'm looking at some of the questions here, and so somebody asked, "How can I manage anxiety?" And I know we've said a whole lot, but is there anything else that you can probably share? And
Yeah.
how can you manage anxiety? And again, folks, I want you to. I need to see the hearts and I need to see the thumbs up, because if you are hearing this tonight and this is beneficial and this is blessing you, please comment and share. I'm loving what I'm seeing on Facebook Live and on YouTube right now. Just looking at everyone just interacting and commenting, but like and share it. And let's see those hearts and those thumbs nonstop. Let's keep it going, because we only got just a few more moments together tonight. So
Okay.
somebody asked, Mike, how can I manage anxiety?
Okay. Again, I encourage you to talk to a therapist or counselor. They will help you on that journey and give you a great outlet. They're trained in anxiety. That's what they do. They go to college for that. That being said, there's a 3-question system that I have to hack my anxiety during the day that I wanted to bring up, actually. So when I'm feeling anxious, I ask myself 3 questions. What's going on inside me right now? And I try to locate it in my body. Sometimes
Wow.
I'll take my finger, point to it. Then question number 2 is, what am I feeling right now? And that forces me to really get aware of what's happening. And the third one is my favorite. I call it the reparenting question. What do I need right now? And sometimes just asking those questions will give you the focus to find what you need in that moment.
Wow, that's good. Asking all the hard questions, the necessary questions.
The necessary ones.
And I think it's important too, because we talk about counseling and seeing therapists and all that. And sometimes people have this mindset that things has got to get bad. Like you got to get to ground zero of your life. This problems on the left and the right, relationship and money and just whatever else. Like, you don't have to wait until your world gets to rock bottom for you to see therapy and for you to get counseling. I mean, sometimes it's a great idea if you want to better your marriage and better yourself, to just to see someone to enhance you, and for your betterment and your well-being. And so share that a little bit, because again, it's like, well, I'm getting marital problems, we got to go to counseling and this and that. It's just like, we go to, why do we wait until things go bad and things just turn for the worse? Why can't we be a little bit more proactive to say that, these are all the resources and all the things that are available for us that's going to help us to be better?
Yeah, well, a lot of times, and again, we don't have a lot of time, but I cover this in my book, Transforming Stigma. There's a stigma surrounding it. We feel a lot of shame. We're weaker if we're having to ask for help. That's not true. That's a
Yeah.
myth. That's a lie that you're telling yourself. You can be totally happy. You can be watching this Facebook Live and be totally happy and still go to therapy and get something out of it. Think of it like this. There's what you know about yourself, and there's what you don't know about yourself. But therapy helps you see and learn what you don't know, that you didn't even realize that you didn't know about yourself. So it gets you to go down to some real deep layers. I always compare it to one of my favorite things, the bloomin' onion at the Outback Steakhouse. Miss that right now so much. And
Talk,
if you've
sir.
ever the bloomin' onion, if you've ever seen this thing, it comes out, it's giant. It's huge, and it's a deep fried onion. They split it down the middle. And basically, when it comes out, the thing I love about it is just for a moment before the whole table eats it, you can actually see the amount of layers an onion has. And it's pretty impressive. You don't usually think about it when you just see a raw onion. And that's what therapy allows you to see, those different layers, just like the bloomin' onion.
I mean, you're helping me right now, because I think I need to go to therapy, because I'm missing all the heat. Like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? My my hibachi spots, man, sushi and stuff, bro. Yeah, I'm definitely
Oh,
I'm gonna need some help. these heat out. So, and it's crazy. I mean, going back to this, this what's going on in our world, that there has been some reports of people committing suicide because they were fearful of the coronavirus. They didn't get it. They haven't been infected. They haven't been tested positive, but just the thought that I could get it drives them to take their own life.
Yeah.
I mean, how deep rooted anxiety and fear can be that it can drive you to the place to take your own life. Talk a little bit about just our whole global pandemic, what you've been hearing, how people are just been taken overall. I mean, obviously we don't know the whole scope of things, but just by your knowledge and what you've been hearing, just how people just been handling it, just what's your reaction to these things?
Well, first of all, there's been a huge rise in domestic violence, and that's a problem right there, because that talks about, unreleased emotions being let out in a toxic way. And I'm also worried right now about suicide, because we're so focused on COVID-19 coronavirus. We're not hearing about the suicide rate. And I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned for the people out there that are lonely and feeling lonely. And lonely doesn't mean you're just...
That's the last one.
Oh, that's the last one. Okay. But there's loneliness. There's being cooped up in your home. The other day I kind of had a little mini meltdown because just staying stuck here at home wasn't working for me with the work environment that I need. And I couldn't handle it. So I had to go out and work in the park. That's what I decided to do, Still allowed to do that here in New York.
And sometimes your environment matters. I'm gonna say that one more time. Hashtag it, comment. Your environment matters. This is why it's so important that you can't circle your life around negativity and negative people, because your environment matters. Your environment produces life, depending on what your environment is. And I share this with the church, that it matters to the point that if you allow it to, if you just circle your life around just all the negative stuff, I mean, it can really do a whole lot of harm and danger. And so you got to circle yourself around positive people, and having that outlet to change the environment. You said, even being at home all the time, you got the wife, the kids, and whoever else, family, you got the cat, got the dog. Yeah, we're quarantined, we're locked in, we're shut in, but sometimes take advantage of the nice weather and change your environment and get out the house.
Yeah.
Go for a run, go for a walk. Somebody was telling me, and I shared it in the living room Bible study this Tuesday, that, man, I can't wait to go back to the gym and get on the treadmill and get on get on the exercise bike. And I'm like, I looked at that person I'm like, dude, I hate the treadmill. I hate getting on an exercise bike because you're in motion, but you're not progressing. So you could be burning calories, your body is working out, but you ain't going nowhere. And I'm the kind of person, and I get bored easily. So I love environment. I love going out, running in my neighborhood, seeing the houses and seeing people, and just knowing that I'm going somewhere. I've got a route to run. And so I can't just be stuck in emotion and not progressing. And there's a difference of you being in emotion and you progressing.
Two different things.
Because it's about environment.
Absolutely.
And so people can constantly just, work, do, and grind daily, but they're not progressing. And because nothing has changed, they're in motion, but they're not progressing. So that's big that you mentioned environment. Sometimes getting out the house, go in the backyard, go, find something that's going to change the scene, the scenery a little bit. And it helps. The little things like that is major in these times, without a doubt. So we talked about anxiety. We talked about stress. And this is the last point before we go home: loneliness. And man, we don't have enough time to elaborate on all these topics, but loneliness, of course, is another big word that I'm sure that we all have faced to some degree. Help somebody that's watching on this online community that I'm lonely. How do I win with this?
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna do this fast here. I got two things for you here. In my book, Transforming Stigma, I talk about the law of the tribe, and that we're tribal people by nature. We need to be part of groups. We do. Even us introverts, and I am a huge introvert. Like sometimes I think I need to be
Really?
stuck on a mountain. Oh yeah. I know
Oh
how to
yeah.
play the extrovert game real well, but I'm a huge introvert. I just want to be by myself. Leave me alone, everybody. But the thing is this, even someone like myself, we all need people. And now during this pandemic, it's impossible. I've had introvert friends of mine say, I miss people. It's kind of weird to hear that from them. So here's the thing. We're tribal people by nature. One thing you can do is try to take an inventory of your tribes that you're in. Maybe it's your friends at work. Maybe it's the people you go bowling with. Maybe it's the people you do such and such with. And make sure you're intentional about reaching out to those tribes during this time. I'm in a band, and we have a little group text. Everyone does group text now. And, we text every few days. Something comes through, a meme about the pandemic, whatever. But you know what? Looking at that little text, I feel like I'm a part of something. And that's really important to do and be intentional about right now. Think about who your tribes are and reach out to them. It's not the same. Now, I want to bring up one other thing, and this is, I think it's possibly the most important thing that I'm going to share with you on this chat right here. And it's going to get a little weird, but I'm going to explain it like this. When we
Okay.
communicate with people, there's 3 dimensions of communication. One-dimensional communication is when I send you a text, send you an email, send you a letter, something like that. 2-dimensional communication is I get on the phone with you. 3-dimensional communication is face-to-face. Now, we can't get to face-to-face, but we can do what I call 2.5, and that's video chatting like this. But still, it's not the same. But I want to give you a huge tip. And if you watch any of my videos on my YouTube channel, people often tell me, they say, Mike, you got such good eye contact. But I want to give you a major trick that you can use. Actually, not a trick, it's a hack to really feel a sense of connection through video chatting. So I'm looking at you right now. I'm actually looking into the camera. So I'm not looking at you, Omar. I know you're actually right below me, but I'm looking into my phone's camera. But here's the deal. As I'm looking into the camera, and listen very closely here, I'm visualizing you, Omar, and I'm visualizing you in front of me and me looking in your eyes and seeing your humanity. And I don't know if you feel that coming from me as I'm talking to you right now, but that's a really important thing to do as we video chat with people, because people can feel that on some level. And I want to warn you, it's hard to do because it makes you so vulnerable, so vulnerable. But when you do that, people can feel it. And let me say this, when we're done with this pandemic, we should be doing that in public, face to face with each other, looking in people's eyes just to see their humanity. It's a beautiful thing to do. And it's been one of the most helpful tools in my mental wellness toolbox.
It's good. Now, that we're living in a culture now that, everything is just, text, that's the main communication nowadays. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. And sometimes, you could be in the same house and texting each other. Like you sitting around the dining room table eating, and instead of just looking at each other and having meaningful, genuine, wholesome, back to the basics conversation, right? Everything is text, and so it takes away the true essence and the importance of just that real, genuine touch and communication that only comes from having FaceTime with someone. So that's key. So how to try to see if we can get to some more questions here. So again, loneliness is a deal. How do you help someone just go through that maze that they find themselves challenged, that sometimes even you have a great job and you're making money, you're doing good in life, you can still be lonely.
Right.
And for some people and I'm sorry to interrupt, but for some people, even they battle loneliness and they're not by themselves.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother Facebook Live for us right there. That's a whole nother thing. Let me say this again. Reach out to your tribes.
Yeah.
Be intentional about communicating and looking in someone's eyes, even if you're just visualizing it. The other thing that I want to bring up here, when it comes to loneliness is sometimes you have people in your life that are struggling, and you know they're struggling with anxiety, depression, other things. And what do you say to them? Here's what not to say. Don't give them advice. Don't tell them to cheer up. Don't tell them it's going to be okay. Because when someone's in a bad place emotionally, they're not receptive to that. If you say that to me when I'm in a bad place, yeah, don't talk to me. Like, I'm not going to want it. However, there are two things that I found that I talk about in my book too, that I have found to be effective a good 80% of the time. And listen very closely. One thing you can say to someone who's struggling: how can I support you? Here's the key. When you say it, shut up. Let there be awkwardness, because to really help someone who's going through a tough time, it has to be an awkward conversation. We run away from awkward. We don't like awkward, but you got to learn to chase it if you want to help someone in your life who's struggling right now. The other thing that you can say to them that I found to be quite reliable is, help me understand. And here's the key: shut up and give them the space to talk. And what you'll do is create a very safe space for them. And also, again, go back to the loneliness, a better bond between the two of you, even if it's just over the phone.
That's good. Yeah, because sometimes we're quick to speak. So having a good ear, and some people they just want to, tea kettle. They want to vent out. This have someone there that's going to listen to them, not necessarily give them solutions and the answers, but wow, thank you for taking the time out to listen to me.
Yes.
So big ear is good. And again, we're talking about loneliness, and this is the last leg before we go home. You can be lonely. You can be alone and not lonely.
Yeah.
Because of the company and the people that you surround yourself with. So how does, I guess loneliness, can really stem big, from a standpoint of relationship. But talk about, again, you mentioned company as well, but how can someone be successful? How can someone just, have a, nice job and perhaps a nice house, a nice car, a family, but they still battle loneliness?
We all have a lot of stuff in our minds. And I want you to remember this. I'm going to leave you with one thing about mental health. Mental health challenges are confusing and frustrating. And that's one of the reasons we run from them. We can't get a clear answer. It's not cut and dry. And trust me when I say this, it's one of the most beautiful things about mental health challenges when you start to do the work. And yes, you can have everything on the surface that looks like you've got it together, but inside you could be basically dying. And so that's why it's really important that we do our best to practice self-care for ourselves. And it's also important that we're intentional about our relationships with others.
That's good. That's good. Wow. I'm telling you, this nothing but great comments on both YouTube and Facebook here. And I'm telling you, you become the number one fan now. You're the real MVP tonight.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure everyone's being blessed by this. If there was anything as far as landing the plane, close out for now, thoughts or wording you wanted to share with the community tonight, what would that be? Just wrapping up everything that we discuss all in a nutshell. Some word of encouragement or any other last minute practical tools that you want to share to somebody for them to take home and live out.
We're going to get through this together. We're going to get through this together, and you can't do it on your own. Even that stuff that you feel like you can try to muscle it out on your own, no, you need other people, and that's okay. You're not weak for it. I encourage you to reach out. I want to thank you all for tuning in and giving me your time tonight and listening in. And I want to invite you to, go to my website. You can email me. I'll give you all my email address right now. It's mike@mikeveny.com. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll do my best to help you or direct you to what I think would be an appropriate resource. And I appreciate you all being here.
Share your website, Mike, real quick, and just your social media platforms so that anyone that's on those platforms can connect with you.
Sure. It's www.mikeveny.com. And my last name is spelled V as in Victor, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, Y as in yellow. And
I had a hard time pronouncing the last name, when I first met you guys. So
Yeah.
thank you for, you probably helped somebody online just a while ago.
Yeah, and my social media is at Mike Veny for everything. That's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that. Reach out to me. I would love to help you if I can.
Thank you so much, Mike, man. You're my brother. You're my friend. I love you. I appreciate you and your beautiful wife, Danelle. Thank you so much for just sharing just your passion and your heart to all the viewers. And I'm sure someone got a lot of information that they're able to take back home and live it out in this time where our world is just going through the season of a pandemic on top of just what we're battling with and going through in our everyday lives. And I think by the grace of God and by the power of God and his presence and people like you and the information that you've shared, we can live a victorious life. So I want to thank you for your time. And I want to thank for all our viewers that are on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for participating and sharing your comments, your likes, and I hope that you were able to share this live stream on your page so that everyone will know. Before we go, I want to let you know to please make sure you subscribe to the Sanctuary of Elmont's YouTube channel. I need you to press that subscribe button if you have not done so. Click on that bell icon so that you're always notified when the Sanctuary is live. And we want you to stay engaged and stay connected during these times. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments and your questions. Mike, thank you again. This time we need each other. We need to stay connected. Community matters. Our environment matters. And I'm sure that we can all live a life of peace in the midst of chaos. I love you. This is Pastor Jolly saying God bless you. Thank you again, Mike, for this opportunity that you get to have to share with us. And it's been a great night. I love you all. Have a blessed night. Be well, be safe. Take care. Till next time, guys. Have a good one.